ChatGPT, AI, and all the other Dolly, all the other sources, more than we don't even know or that I don't personally know, they're there. We need to better understand them and make sure we use them as tools to benefit and not allow them to become a hindrance or something that we fear. Fear of the unknown is never good in education.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Martha Salazar-Zamora, the very proud superintendent of the Tomball Independent School District. Tomball is a suburb of Houston, Texas, where we have 23,000 students in our fast growth district on 23 campuses. I'm very proud to say I was just named the Texas Superintendent of the Year for 2023.
Hi, I'm Kevin McGowan, Superintendent of the Brighton Central School District, just outside of Rochester, New York, upstate New York. We are a 3,600 student district across four different school buildings.
Hi, my name is Christine Tucci Osorio, and I am the superintendent of School District 622 located in Minnesota. We are a first-ring suburb of the city of St. Paul, and my schools are in the cities of North St. Paul, Maplewood, and Oakdale. We've got about just under 11,000 students across 11 traditional schools and a number of additional alternative sites as well for about 20 different buildings and programs.
How is your school district approaching AI tools like ChatGPT?
So my children both live in Europe, and my youngest is getting her master's there, and she introduced me some time ago to ChatGPT. I had never heard of it. And so one of those things is, as an educator, you always want to learn and grow. But I found it interesting that we felt like this was something new, and it's actually quite old. We're just behind. And so it's one of those things, like so many others, that we can't fear. We have to learn about to only be able to enhance the possibilities that it brings to us.
I think we're embracing it. I think that, there was initial hesitation for how that would change writing and skill acquisition relative to writing and thinking and the entire structure of English language arts. But the reality is it's a tool that very, very quickly, within weeks, we recognized we needed to harness that tool and help kids understand how to best use it. We didn't shy away from using maps on our phones or GPS or Siri or Alexa. You name the innovation that's happened in the last decade, and human beings jumped in and figured out how to best use that. Yet we still have to get to the place and figure out what address to put into the map, which is the best route. Still need to think through that. ChatGPT is the next really version of that. There certainly will be limitations to that, but helping kids understand how to best utilize that tool, I think, is the way to go instead of running away from it.
At this point in our school district, we're really just dabbling in the use of ChatGPT and AI tools. I think right now we are definitely trying to foster a culture where we're not afraid of this new development in technology. We've got to lean in, and the only way you can learn about it is to start to use it. I had a principal say to me, I was trying to write a teacher's evaluation on a lesson I observed, and I was trying to find the words for how to better say what I was trying to write about classroom management. And I decided to throw it in ChatGPT, and it spit out exactly what I was trying to find in my head, but I couldn't find the words to say it. So that's an example of trying to play around with it to see what are the possibilities that we have. And so at this point, we're very much dabbling in it, and we're encouraging our teachers and our school leaders to not shy away from it, look for ways to manage it, and also be mindful. If you're worried about students cheating, I think then we have to have a different conversation about how we're measuring learning.
Are there any positive use cases that you've heard of from students or even teachers around ChatGPT?
I think there are a plethora of examples in which people will tell you, I utilize ChatGPT. It's anything to get me started, right? Perhaps I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go or how in-depth or the right words to use. It doesn't mean that the whole script, the whole presentation, the whole something would be written in that manner, but I think it's a good handholding, especially when there's some uncertainty or you just want to add more meat to what the presentation might be. I think it's a great tool and I utilize it often.
There are. In fact, I have heard any number of other superintendents utilize ChatGPT to write letters to their community. I have heard of individual administrators utilizing it to create announcements for their school during difficult periods of time that help them think through the nuance of their language and provide suggestions for them that may make that a better message. I've certainly heard of students using it to summarize notes that they're taking in class or to gather information from online resources and put it into a set of notes that then they would need to study. They still need to be able to demonstrate knowledge of that information. So I've really seen where it could be a very powerful tool for people when used correctly.
We've looked at situations where students are using ChatGPT, and for example, the time frames where they're supposed to be doing writing or they're supposed to present representation of their learning. We're challenging teachers, if a student leans into ChatGPT to help get their ideas on the table, how are we measuring learning inside of the classroom setting? So let's say a student does use ChatGPT to help them formulate some of their ideas for a speech. Well, in real time, in front of people, they're going to have to respond to follow-up questions. They're going to have to engage. And the way we can check that they really understand the content they're talking about is the way we interact with them and ask follow-up questions and the way we structure the activity in the first place. So really emphasizing that it may be that a student used ChatGPT to help them formulate some of their ideas, but the real learning of whatever content area we're talking about can be measured easily through in-class participation and activity that talks about going more in depth about the knowledge that you're trying to share. So really trying to encourage people to think differently about that whole piece. We've also been doing a lot of work around grading for equity, standards-based grading, and this fits well into that conversation because we know that if we really want to measure learning in the content areas, there's lots of ways to demonstrate learning and try to be open to those different and new ideas for how to do so.
With regards to AI tools like ChatGPT, are you changing any of your techniques for grading students or the types of assignments being used in the classroom?
So this question actually I find pretty intriguing because we haven't changed the grading yet, but we are as we write our next strategic plan for the district 2030, exceeding excellence. So when you think about just the title, right, it's going to take you to 2030. We are talking about and infusing additional ways. Currently, we already have staff that have gone to training. They do online. We've had presenters come to our staff and even to our parents. But as far as it actually affecting the grading, that I think is something to come, but I see it in the near future. ChatGPT, AI, and all the other Dolly, all the other sources, more than we don't even know or that I don't personally know, they're there. We need to better understand them and make sure we use them as tools to benefit and not allow them to become a hindrance or something that we fear. Fear of the unknown is never good in education.
I think the simplest way to look at that is work that is done on demand with instructors in front of them, using particular platforms that wouldn't allow for the use of ChatGPT in that moment. So where they're looking for a written response to something to demonstrate both writing ability, but an understanding of the actual content, they're doing that in class in front of them and having kids submit that work without the use of ChatGPT. And I think that's a productive and appropriate way to get at that. There's still a need to do that. If you're going to be really good at using resources like ChatGPT, you need to know what information to give it. You need to know how to edit it. You need to know how to lend your own voice to it and essentially how to create that message and what kind of message to create, all of which requires you to have some, or maybe not just some, but a significant amount of ability to communicate in written form. ChatGPT speeds that process up, but it still requires us to have knowledge of what a good piece of writing, good piece of communication looks like, sounds like, and is read like.
Well, I think what we're trying to do is really help our teachers understand that there's multiple ways to demonstrate learning and really thinking about on the front end before you teach a unit of study or give assignments out on how we're going to measure learning, really think through how are we going to handle if a student wants to incorporate use of ChatGPT in their work. And there's lots of incredibly neat ways to do that, as long as we also have some stopgap measures in place where we can also check for understanding in that content area and thinking differently in the way we facilitate group discussions or fishbowl activities, right? Or using those kinds of interactive opportunities in a classroom is going to allow us to actually check for understanding in a way that is quite meaningful. And if students are using ChatGPT to help formulate their thinking, that's okay. And we're really encouraging teachers to incorporate that in their planning. And this fits really well with our grading for equity, our standards-based grading initiative, where we are unpacking the way we measure learning in our school. And so it's fitting really beautifully into our teacher professional learning communities as they're talking about these tools.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.